Man, I really hate to say it, but the WWE Draft on SmackDown was a complete waste of time. Okay, maybe that's a bit too harsh, but I'm talking about the draft part of the show. Barely anyone actually changed brands, and I know we're getting night 2 of the draft, but they could have easily switched some superstars to make it into a better show. You know, I'm watching the show and it's like, okay, round 1, nothing changed. Round 2, nothing changed. Also, only 2 superstars switched brands. Well, at least CM Punk is advertised. No, he was not a part of the show. He was advertised for the live audience, so this was not televised. I don't know, maybe my expectations were a bit too high. Now, we got these, I think they're called War Rooms, and that's kinda nice, but I really wish we saw Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis actually picking these superstars. What a missed opportunity. Don't get me wrong, I liked seeing all these legends, you know, hearing the theme songs. That's always nice in professional wrestling. I would have rather seen Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis picking superstars, and once eventually they lose a superstar, they get mad, you know, we see these facial expressions. No, we wouldn't, because nobody changed goddamn brands. And look, people, yes, we got a few NXT talent. I'm happy Baron Corbin is coming back. But even the talent that got drafted to SmackDown, Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker, they already made their debut. And at this point it's like, okay, you don't want to wrap up the storylines, you want to keep it safe. Why have a draft then? What's the point? Have it at a later date. Now, of course, welcome back to another episode of Greatness of SmackDown. Feeling like shit, honestly, today. You know it's bad when your boy is wearing a hat or a hoodie. I'm more bloated than that one Chris Jericho run, right? But, you know, I'm kind of disappointed with the show. Like, I like Carmelo Hayes versus Cody Rhodes. That was really unexpected in my opinion. But this draft was barely anything different than what we've seen with Vince McMahon. Honestly. So the show kicks off, champions are protected, Paul Heyman announces that Roman Reigns is not gonna be a part of the draft. That already really pissed me off. It's like, okay, either commit to the draft or don't commit to the draft. I hate this concept of free agents. We see NXT talent excited, and these are the superstars that are eligible for tonight's draft, which kinda makes sense because you gotta treat Raw and SmackDown equally. Yet at the same time, I wouldn't mind like a separate show, you know, on a Monday, Friday, doesn't matter, just give us a real draft because this is, I don't want to say confusing, but that's how you end up with a draft like this. Barely anyone changed brands. So the show kicked off with a contract signing between AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes, which was one of the nicest contract signings of all time. For the first time, I believe in many years, a table was not broken, ladies and gentlemen. And this is, like I've said, I'm not excited about the story, I'm excited about the match. And that's all it was. AJ Styles respects Cody's father. He actually wrestled him, I believe. AJ was kind of a babyface in this promo, which was kinda weird. He understands why people boo him. Cody said he respects AJ, and that was really it. Again, I'm not expecting much out of this, so I was not necessarily disappointed. Triple H interrupts Cody, and they announce the first picks of the draft. Bianca Belair was the first pick, which honestly, I get why they did it. She's a big deal, but judging by her recent momentum, doesn't really make a lot of sense. Jey Uso got drafted to Raw, or stays on Raw, which I hope means Jimmy is being drafted to Raw. It's kind of weird though that, you know, Jey is going to be on Raw, but the new Bloodline is on SmackDown. Not even sure what they're going to do with that storyline. Carmelo Hayes is drafted to SmackDown, but again, it's like, well, he already kind of was on SmackDown. And Rollins stays on Raw, which I believe makes sense. That was round 1, and I was like, okay, that means we're getting some changes a little bit later. Boy, was I wrong. Carmelo Hayes makes his entrance and he challenges Cody to a match, and Cody says, I did not forget my gear, which honestly got me really excited. I mean, this is great. Then we got a tag team match, Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio versus Legado del Fantasma, which was pretty awesome, and it actually gave us some answers. Santos Escobar says, I'm not a liar, I have a proof that I did not attack Dragon Lee, and they showed security footage of Carlito doing it. So yes, Carlito just turned heel as expected. expected, which is great. I was really getting tired of Legado del Fantasma versus LWO, so we're finally getting some changes. Bron Breakker squashes Cedric Alexander. That was basically it. Michelle McCool and Tori Wilson announced more draft picks. Randy is staying on SmackDown. Honestly, when it comes to Randy Orton, I would be fine either way. He just recently returned, so I believe there are a lot of stories that still could be told on SmackDown. Bron Breakker is drafted to Raw, and that's a minor change, I guess. He debuted on SmackDown, he got drafted to Raw, but that was definitely expected. It's almost like they were already being drafted to the main roster. Nia Jax is drafted to SmackDown, which is something that I suggested in my previous video, so I'm happy with that. You know, that's pretty good. And Liv Morgan stays on Raw because, again, she's going to be the world champion. I'm just gonna repeat myself, but I've never seen a bigger overreaction in pro wrestling than Becky Lynch winning the championship. Like, there is a bigger story, and the fact that some people can't see that, they can't see that it's actually beneficial for Liv Morgan, it's crazy to me, right? The Bloodline arrives to SmackDown, but they have not been drafted yet. Paul Heyman says they don't know who are they going to get, you keep adding members. Then they got attacked by Kevin Owens, who made a very quick return to the WWE after the injury. Wait, that's not where he got cut. Seems like we're getting a Women's Tag Team Championship match at Backlash, which is honestly pretty awesome. Now that is a team you can't beat. Again, we see Bloodline fighting with Kevin Owens, and we got Randy Orton for the save, which is something I really popped for. That was awesome, you know, Kevin Owens hugging Randy Orton. I could be wrong, I think they announced later that we're going to get that tag team match, so I'm really excited. I felt like, you know, Backlash really needed people like Randy Orton. The Dudley Boys announced more draft picks. LA Knight stays on SmackDown. I'm fine with it as long as he's winning that championship from Logan. On the other hand, he's not winning the WWE Championship, and being on Raw would have been a lot more beneficial for LA Knight. Ricochet is drafted to Raw, stays on Raw. Yeah, that kinda makes sense, it's a longer show. The Bloodline got drafted to SmackDown, which was expected. Sheamus stays on Raw. Good choice, like I've said, his biggest story is the Intercontinental Championship. We saw Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi again for the third time, I believe, and the match ended with Nia Jax interfering, but Tiffany Stratton stands tall. So I guess we just got a peek at the women's division from now on. I don't know, man, maybe on Raw we're going to get some changes, but I was honestly disappointed. To me, it was like, okay, what was the fucking point? We got some Tag Team Championship drama. The biggest highlight right here, oh my god, these championships are gorgeous. They look better every time I see them. They did something interesting with Karrion Kross. We see them laying waste on Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Showed a lot more intensity, aggression, and maybe that's what they should keep doing. Later along, and JBL announced more draft picks. SmackDown gets AJ Styles, which kinda makes sense. I mean, it's obvious Cody is retaining anyway, but if AJ was drafted to Raw, then it was like, okay, you just spoiled a match. Alpha Academy stays on Raw, makes sense. Obviously, Chad Gable is coming for that Intercontinental Championship. Andrade is drafted to SmackDown, great, you know, Rey Mysterio. And finally, Kiana James got drafted to Raw. Don't really know anything about her. Also, SmackDown got DOC, Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander, and Ashante D. Adonis. Raw got Shayna Baszler, Zoey Stark, a women's tag team which was needed, and Ivar. Barely any changes, but I'm happy Baron Corbin is going to be on SmackDown. I think he did enough to kinda, you know, change his character and be interesting again. And finally, we got the main event, Cody Rhodes and Carmelo Hayes, which is great, you know. Carmelo got a lot of exposure from this match, but I gotta tell you, I really hope Cody is not injured. That landing was rough, and he kept selling that. I'm not sure if it really hurt or he was, you know, selling it to make the match look better. Not sure. Of course, Cody Rhodes wins the match, and the show ends with a face-off between AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes, a show of respect. Yeah, man, I don't know, maybe our expectations were a little too high, but I felt like, you know, since this is the new era, we're going to get a great draft, some drama, you know. And it was basically just, yeah, everybody stays on the same show. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, the great one. Peace, love, and hugs. It's been a pleasure.